Welcome to Chocolate Cake for the Soul, a space to return to your truth, awaken your energy, and leave with deeper clarity. I'm Dewi, and I'm here to hold gentle yet powerful conversation on healing, intuition, and the unseen energy that shape our lives. Whether you're building a soulful business, navigating your inner wounds, or simply learning to trust your intuition again, you're exactly where you need to be. So find your favorite cozy corner and take a bite of chocolate cake for the soul together. Today, we're joined by Alus, a singer, songwriter, and creative soul known not just for her music, but for the way she leads life with self love, warmth, and light. With her unique sound and heartfelt presence, she brings joy and empowerment into everything she creates. We're excited to get to know the bright soul behind the art. Welcome, Alas.
Alas, so one of the key things that I was working on in Egypt is working on my self-love. And you were one of those, I would say, someone who inspired me a lot. Just seeing, I can't, I don't know if I can put a word to it, but just seeing how you are loving yourself and being so composed and just owning, all of just yeah, I'm lost for words. Just seeing that it inspired me so much, and that's why we're here today.
Thank you for having me. I want to say thank you for having me too, because when you asked me to do this, I just want to say really quick that I did not expect this at all. And even hearing how you can light somebody up and sort of inspire somebody else, it really helps your own self-love in a lot of ways too, because you're like, wow, like even on my bad days, somebody else still feels your energy, and how great you can be and whatever that is. So I just want to say thank you for also like inspiring me in a lot of ways too, because it's like a mirror. It takes, one to recognize one.
Yeah, wow. So, what was your self-love journey like? If you, there might not be like a single moment thing, but what was it like for you?
Self-love has always been something that I feel like is evolving within myself as a woman. When I was a kid, I would say that's when we first get our real taste of, self-love. What does that mean? Because we learn to love through others, right?
Yep.
And our parents and our friends and I think that I've evolved into loving myself by learning all of the different parts of myself. I've
Mhm.
learned the dark side
Yeah,
and the bright side.
yeah.
And it's a long journey and I think it's one that you're forever on.
Yeah.
It's never, it's never going to stop,
Mhm.
but I'm happy to say that at least I never give up on myself and that I want to keep finding out more about what is that self-love within me. But I mean, I would say it starts when you're just a baby almost, right? It's like you discover what it's like to be excited about life and what lights you up and what makes you feel so good about yourself. I remember when I was a kid, music really shone a light on myself as far as what I felt like I was good at and where I felt I belonged.
Mhm.
And that was definitely the first place for me because, nobody put a microphone in my hand. I just came out of the womb. Like, I was like, I want to sing. I want to be a superstar. Like, nobody told me to do that. If anything, they were like, girl, you're doing too much. Just put the microphone down. I was like the annoying kid always wanting to like sing and dance for everybody. But I think me discovering myself through music when I was a kid was the first place. I think finding your first passion is kind of the start of where you see a lot of that self-love.
Yeah. Well, for me, part of well, the stumble that I fall into, and I'm sure many people can relate to this, is when, you put this idea that, oh, self-love is when I achieve, blah, 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 then I'm good enough, I'm worthy enough. And it was a lot of work for me to untangle myself from the outside appearance or benchmark or proving and whatnot. Did this happen to you as well? Did you go through that journey?
Yes, honestly, I noticed it when I hit goals that I used to dream about.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't feel joy. I actually felt
Yes.
pressure.
Yes.
And yeah, it was like,
Oh,
okay,
I'm getting
cool.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, okay, cool. Now do more. You have this little voice in the back of your head. And I grew up believing that love had to be earned. So achievement
Yeah.
really became like an identity for myself.
Yeah.
Um, but what changed within myself was asking if everything disappeared around me,
Mhm.
my career and everything that I count on as an achievement, who am I?
Yeah.
So now that, I still love achieving, but I
Yes.
don't confuse it with my worth anymore
Yes.
because I've learned that I'm still valuable just for being me, not doing anything, but just
Yeah.
being me, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's where people get stuck. Like, how do you do that? It's like it's almost like there is an exercise, like there's a muscle that needs to be built for you to detach yourself from that. I know for myself it was very hard.
Hmm.
And a lot of things happen along the way that really took away all the things that I used to associate myself with, like all the achievements and whatnot. And life just throws here. Without this, who are you? Here, without this, what are you? Like it just really brought a lot of humility, but also taught me a lot of course, loving myself and accepting myself, regardless of whatever's going on the outside. Can you share more about your journey around this?
Yeah. Um, when the out okay, so I would set specific goals for myself. I remember when I was really hard, especially when I was younger, and I looked at achievement as okay, now I'm proving my worth.
Mhm.
Um, I remember when I was younger, I would set goals, and when I would hit those goals, at first I would be like, okay, now people are gonna look at me, or okay, now I'm gonna make a difference in wherever XYZ the difference was, whatever that was. Um, and at the beginning, you sort of like feed yourself those false lies because this is your first, I mean, well, maybe it's not our first time here, but that's a whole other discussion. But but it's like you're living your life for the first time in a lot of ways. So it's
Yeah.
like, you're discovering that those falsehoods are just they're not identities you can live by.
Yeah.
And then after a while, then when I kept achieving things, and I remember praying, some of the things that I've achieved now is like I remember praying for them.
Mhm.
And then when I realized they were in my life all of a sudden, it wasn't this like, whoa, oh my God, like I'm this new person. Who am I? Like, I love myself more. It was almost like I have to do more now and more. And it was like this lie within itself that the more I achieved, the more I needed to achieve to
Yeah.
continue to love yourself. And then it's this ladder that you're forever climbing.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's sort of a switch that just flips. And I just think that this happens with wisdom as you get older. And I think that I have so much more to learn and so much more wisdom to gain. But I think that as you get older, I'm in my 30s now. And so, like, there's a switch that kind of like went off for me that's just kind
Yeah.
of like, I don't need to identify with those things anymore.
Mhm.
They don't have to have a hold over me like they did. And it's
Mhm.
very liberating. It's so freeing
Yeah.
when you could just sit back and say, wow, I can love me just for me without
Yeah.
any of that around me, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. And that's beautiful. So you mentioned also at the beginning where, well, self-love is about loving all parts of yourself, maybe the bright side and also the dark side. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah, girl, that dark side. I feel like when it comes to the dark side, people try to shy away from it, right? But Carl Jung talked about this a lot too. Like you have to identify with your dark side to become a whole person.
Yes.
Uh, Um, we're not all light, and the essence of polarity exists within everywhere we look. There's the sun and the moon, and and there's up and down, and there's the highs and the lows of whatever it is in life. There's darkness and light, and so I used to be really scared of that dark side
Mhm.
because I almost looked at it as a version of me that needed to be hidden away because
Yeah.
it's a shame, I'm ashamed of it or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and I think a lot of us face that because we don't see this also in society as much portrayed as it is great to portray the good stuff.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
we idolize all the good and we think everything should
Yes.
be nice and beautiful.
Yes.
And when it's bad, it's like for myself, because I would just try to hide it away,
Yeah.
I would live in the darkness and not let anybody see it,
Yeah.
and go through those periods where it was very dark.
Yeah.
And I think when you approach the darkness, you have to have some sort of like humility and grace and compassion for yourself,
Hmm.
and then give it a chance to speak. Because there's a reason why those triggers continuously happen in our lives and they still will show up throughout life. Like the dark is never going to leave.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's been showing that darkness, compassion, and love, and loving that dark side and saying, like, it's okay, I see you too. Like, you don't have to be ashamed.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's really powerful. I think just sitting with myself and doing a lot of the work that people don't talk about a lot of the
Yes.
times, meditating, sitting in those feelings. It's a hard thing to sit in an uncomfortable emotion, but letting yourself just feel that, like
Yeah.
sit in that emotion. And because if you don't, it's just going to get bottled up and it's going to explode one day. And you're going to be like, where did this come from? Right.
Yes.
But it's been building your whole life,
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's
Yes.
a lot of exercises and tricks and tips and things you could do. And, there's all types of shadow work. There's journals that they have now, where you could just write things down. I did a lot of my therapy is my music. So I would write music, and the lyrics would be like reading a page out of a diary for me. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just writing a song I would instantly, the vibration from the darkness, it would feel like it had like the heaviness of the weight that was on it got lifted.
Yeah.
So I think exercising whatever it is for you that helps you see that darkness
Mm-hmm.
helps.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think a lot of this is it's like it's embedded in society, right? Like little children, when they're happy and laughing, they get praises like, "Oh, what a good girl!" But then when they're unhappy and they show their emotions, or when they're angry, "Oh, bad girl for showing your emotions." So it's like almost like society has taught us to stuff it in, like don't show that you're angry, don't show you're sad, because it's not okay to not be happy all the time. Which of course is not going to happen. I mean, life, there's ups and downs, there's happiness and angry and sad and whatnot. And so it's actually acknowledging all those feelings. I had a very profound moment which I shared with you in Egypt, where segment, Gato segment, shared basically what you just told me just now. I didn't realize that all this time. I mean, there is an awareness, but I haven't fully acknowledged it, maybe. And then she pointed out exactly the words that you said. Well, embrace all sides of you, because what makes you whole and complete. If you only embrace half of you, then you're always dividing you against yourself. And it's hard to love you yourself, self love, if you're putting yourself away from yourself. It's like it's conditional, right? I love myself when blah 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 blah. So it's not a whole what's the word, unconditional love. Yeah.
I I love that you shared that story, by the way, because and that's exactly shadow work, right? Like channeling, right? And going into meditation and getting those answers from however you channel it. Because the other thing too is that we always look for answers outside of ourselves,
Yeah.
and until you learn to go within, right?
Yeah.
And then once you learn to go within, you realize there was never an answer. No, I did not need to confide in anything outside of myself, ever. And that's so funny because I didn't have that conversation with which God was it? It was a God, right? Sekhmet.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I didn't have that conversation myself, but it's just like when something rings true, it doesn't matter the path that led you there, but you'll hear that in your own self. It'll feel true to yourself. That's why, I do a lot of the
Yeah.
work where I read a lot of the self-help books, because I can read the same thing a million different ways, but just one time it'll hit me different. And I'm like, oh
Yes.
my God. oh
Yes.
my God, it's like it resonates so strongly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there's so many ways that you could do the shadow work. And that's, yeah, that was just one example. So I love that story too.
Yeah. I remember in the past, I used to hate it when I get angry because I used to throw a lot of destruction energy when I'm angry. Well, that's a whole other topic by itself. So I used to hate and I would suppress that side of myself. And like you said, then it just get bottled up and then one day it will
Mhm.
erupt and then, oh gosh, what did I do?
That happens. I
Yeah.
think rage is something that we face as women also because of whatever it is you're conditioned to believe. But I think a good point was what you said before about the societal expectations. Like as females, we're expected, or just whoever you are in society, you're expected to behave a certain way or look at something a certain way. But what if that conflicts with how you feel inside?
Yes.
Like just how, little girls are taught, like, don't show your ill emotions, right? But how am I supposed to feel when you tell me that, right? And it's like, so am I supposed to like keep that bottled up? And I think rage is just another form of sadness in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it could just show us, actually, I think anger is a very good indicator as to how you're feeling, like, about something. There's going to be so many more levels or layers to unpack when it comes to something like anger, because at the root of it, you might just be upset. It
Yeah.
might not be as much as anger as upset, being upset or sad about something. And at the end of the day, that's going all back to the shadow side that we have to like love and embrace and show compassion towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, when I think about it, I think anger for me is when my boundaries are crossed, when
Mm.
I'm not able to protect myself. And then I felt like I was taken advantage of, or uh, basically, boundaries are crossed. And this is one thing that I really admire you because when during our time in Egypt, I see you maintaining that boundary. You have this amazing bubble, your own bubble, and I don't know how you do that because I was triggered so much for all the things that's happening. Like, how do you do that?
Oh my God. That's another thing that I'm still working on myself, but I think I've had a lot of practice. I think it starts with this uncomfortability, if that's a word, where you're just sort of like in this liminal space of I need to say no, or
Mhm.
I need my distance or my space.
Yeah.
And how do I express that? Because the other thing is that, you could have conflicting thoughts about, if you're like a people pleaser or you're just
Yes.
like somebody that you want other people to like you and you're
Yes.
like, well, if I push them away this way, or even if it's just a stranger and you just don't want to be rude, sometimes we
Yes.
just want to be polite and polite humans and it doesn't
Yeah.
feel nice to have that like say
Yeah.
no to somebody.
Yeah.
But I realized that, if you don't say no, people will just walk all over you. They
Yeah.
will take as much as that as you will give them, and sometimes you don't even realizing they're draining your energy like energy vampires.
Mhm.
And I think it takes a lot of practice to develop boundaries where you can confidently give someone a restriction. And also, boundaries are respect. Like having a friend or a family member give you a boundary, that's like saying, I do want you in my life, but can you adhere to these guidelines? That's like
Mhm.
love in a lot of ways too, because, a boundary, if you choose to go that route, but a boundary can still be out of love and compassion.
Yeah.
And it really shows you as well if the other person is willing to be to work with you, because if they do want to have a relationship with you or whatever the situation is, they would respect the boundary you set if that is something that is so important to you. And I think it just takes so much practice and developing that inner strength where you can just get to the point where you're like, I have to be more happy with my space than unhappy with the fact that you've closed in on my boundary.
Yeah, and also at the end of the day, it is also self-love, right? If you love yourself, you will choose yourself and you will choose your space and you will choose your boundaries and whatnot, and not be playing into that game of people pleaser or whatnot. I think that was one of the key lessons for me as well, that it's okay for you to choose yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
Yeah.
whatever falls away is meant to fall away, and whatever is meant for you will be meant for you, will stay. So that was one of the key lessons that I learned.
Amen to that. I love that. I love that. That's something I've been just exploring with too. Like, if it doesn't work, maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe there's a better way that it's supposed to work, and you're just fighting the tide. Just let it happen how it's supposed to happen, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Was there like any specific maybe a myth, or maybe not a myth, like a lie that you used to believe about self-acceptance? And like, what is the truth that you have discovered, or, changed the belief system out of it?
Yeah, I think I used to believe that if I fully accept myself, I would stop growing. And
Oh,
yeah, that's a hard one. Because the truth is that acceptance gives you energy to grow.
yeah,
And fighting yourself, it's only going to drain you. So
yeah,
you might as well accept because it's going to free you.
yeah.
And I think like, you don't have to be upset thinking about complacency. Like a lot of times
See, yeah,
if we accept, yeah, exactly. If we accept ourselves, we're like, okay, well, I'm going to be complacent with this, whatever I choose. But acceptance is what will help you lean into the growth.
yes,
And
I
that's
love
one
that.
that's really hard. Yeah, that's hard for people that like are, those overachievers and they constantly are doing and working or whatever. But yeah, if you can, the self-acceptance, just I accept myself now, whether I am growing fast, slow, or if I feel like I'm not growing, I still have to accept myself right now. I have
Yeah.
to love myself right now. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. I think that's where people get stuck. It's that, well, if I accept myself, that's complacency. That then you get into that whole game of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Acceptance isn't settling, it's like stabilizing, you
There
know?
you go. That's the sentence.
Yeah.
Acceptance is not settling. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to accept yourself so that you can move on from that, right?
Right.
I remember at one point, so I run my own business, and at one point, things were not going as planned. I mean, with business, there's ups and downs. So when things are going up, yay, everything is good. I feel good about myself. And then when things go down, I'm like, oh no, what does that mean about me? Am I a failure? And then I have all this shame. I went through all those things. And then for a long
Yeah.
time, I couldn't even face myself in the mirror, because I couldn't accept it, and that's what's what made me stuck for a while. And then I realized the only way for me to move on from this is when I accept, not that I'll
Mm.
stay, on the downtrend forever, but understanding this is where I'm at, and
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
shift, and there is room for growth. There are things that I need to learn here. One of them is humility.
Yeah.
So it's when I started accepting that, and I could actually look at the situation with a new perspective, and that's when I actually grew from that. So I really love what you said about what was it? Acceptance is not
It's not
settling.
settling,
It's not settling.
stabilizing. Yeah. Yeah. I
Stabilizing.
feel that. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have like a daily practice that you do, and maybe that you can recommend for someone? Because I have a lot of people coming to me and said, what is self-love? Like, how do I even start? I don't even know what that means, or how do I even get there? Like, do you have any tips for people?
Absolutely. I'm full of tips. So I would say the first one is talk to yourself like somebody you care about, like
Hmm.
someone you care about. When you're speaking to yourself, think about the inner child you,
Mhm.
because that will soften a lot of the conversation that we have towards ourselves. A lot of us are just very critical and we have this like racing mind, and um, giving yourself compassion by like how would I treat my own my inner child in me, if she's just this innocent, pure thing, or he or she, this is the innocent, pure thing, how would you talk to them? So talk to yourself like someone you care about. That's definitely one. Another one I would definitely say is stillness. Get comfortable with stillness, and that can actually be 5 minutes a day, just being
Yeah.
still for 5 minutes. That's the way I started meditation. I remember just hearing about the concept of meditation is just so mind-boggling to somebody who doesn't ever has never thought about sitting still for like even like a minute.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember my brain was so chaotic with like just ruminating thoughts, and you'd go
Yeah.
through those downward spirals. And I
Yeah.
think it's just very typical when you're like a teenager,
Mhm.
and also as an adult too. But yeah, and I remember I just would sit in stillness. I first started just in silence,
Yeah.
and I would, for like 5 minutes, I would set a timer and just sit there. And at first, it was so difficult because my brain was just bouncing around so much.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, no, it's about consistency because you have to keep showing up
Yeah.
even when it feels tough. It's like going to the gym, right? Like you might not have the
Mhm.
best workout every day, but guess what? If you
Mhm.
get up and you show up every day, it's going to be incremental results that are going to just, you're going to see like incredible growth after a year, right?
Yeah.
So, I showed up every day, and I remember I was just very still. And then that led to like, 5 minutes led to 10, and then 10 led to 15. And then now this is gonna sound crazy. I'm sure people won't believe me when I say I can literally meditate for like 8 hours if I really want to. Like I swear, like
Wow.
I'm crazy. But this is because also I'll do like I've discovered different forms of meditation where I'll put on like guided meditations, and then also just like binaural beats or like meditative music where it's very relaxing, and I just let my mind fall into theta, and I've literally checked the time before, and I've sat there for like 6 to 8 hours on some occasions.
Wow.
This is not a frequent thing, but what I'm trying to say is that get comfortable with stillness, because that intuitive voice will become so much stronger in that
Yeah.
stillness, and it will just start to speak to you from such a place of self-love, which will strengthen that self-love. It really, really will.
Yeah.
Um, Let me give you one more too. I love the idea of boundaries. So set a boundary a day. Set a boundary a day with somebody, anybody, or anything. Maybe your boundary needs to be with your phone. I don't know. Maybe your boundary, like we all have things that we need boundaries from. Maybe you
Yeah.
need time away from your significant other because they're in your space or whatever. Or maybe you just need to say no to a stranger who you feel guilty saying no to, but
Mhm.
learn those boundaries, start getting uncomfortable, in those ways where you can eventually become comfortable with setting boundaries. So try that. I would try that for like a week. Try those three things for just one, and just see how you feel, because honestly, it makes all the difference. It's the simplest things that make the biggest difference in your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love what you said, how you might feel guilty at first, because I think as women, that's all we do. We feel guilty. Oh, I feel bad for doing this. Oh, I feel bad. It's all this guilt. It just sits with us. And like you said, just staying uncomfortable with, you know, setting your boundaries. And then over time, it gets easier, and then over time you feel more self-empowered. Oh, look at me standing up for myself. Oh, look at me maintaining my
Mhm.
space. Oh, look at me, I didn't let that in. And then that becomes like you said, like a self-love exercise. I love that.
Yeah, you really do feel proud of yourself. And you start to hear that voice too in your head. Like I sometimes hear that voice even like when I go to my workout class, which is so funny. Like I could be finishing up a workout and be like, wow, I really showed up today. And there's this little voice in the back of my head that's like, I'm so proud of you. Like I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you that because maybe I didn't feel like going that day, but I do go every day. And even though, I'm like, I won't break the chain. I really won't. I'm like, I went yesterday. I have to go today. I went the day before. I went for 30 days. I have to go the 31st day. And then at the end of the whatever you're doing, you're like, I feel so proud of myself. And that the proudness it's like one of the best feelings to have is like being proud of yourself for something that you genuinely did for yourself, for your self-love.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Well, thank you so much. We've talked for about 30 minutes. That's amazing.
Oh my God, that was so fast.
Felt like
It happens. It happens so quick.
5 minutes.
Thank you so much for having me. I want to say thank you this is an incredible conversation. I think more people need to be having these conversations. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah. Well, maybe one last tip for people who are still afraid to face themselves or to accept themselves, where acceptance is complacency and whatnot. Uh, do you have any last tips
Yeah. Let me think about this one.
or any last words?
Yeah. Like any less. I think okay. Acceptance is like saying like I am enough right now. And I think I love the idea of affirmations because they might sound silly at first. I know a lot of people talk about affirmations being like, I don't even believe that. How can I say that? But it's the whole idea of the repetition that builds within the subconscious mind. And before you know it, you do believe those things. You really do. And that's why I love sleep subliminals as well. So
Mhm.
um, I
Yes,
would say
the slip
feed yourself.
subliminals.
Yeah, oh my God, those are the best. So I would say feed yourself like those words, those kind words of affirmation, even if it's you standing in the mirror and talking to yourself in the mirror. And it might sound so ridiculous and silly at first, but who cares? It's just you and the mirror, and that is it. And nobody has to know that you even do it. And you know what I'm saying? You know, or you could do it with your friends. I don't know, maybe group affirmations. I don't know. But feed yourself those words that you wish to hear from somebody else.
Yeah.
Feed yourself those compliments that you need to hear because there can never be too much positivity in your brain. We do too much fluctuation when it comes to thoughts, and our minds are insane how many thoughts we have in a day. So give yourself the opportunity to water and nurture those positive thoughts and let it seep into your mind and continue to do that. So I do those with sleep subliminals as well. But sleep subliminals or affirmations, start by doing that because listen, those will change your life as well. They
Mhm.
really will.
Mhm. And yes, good thing you pointed it out. So thank you so much for reminding me. So I remember at one point we were chatting in the bus in Egypt, and you talked about the slip subliminals, and I was like, oh, that's right. I used to do that, and I kind of forgot about it. I mean, I still do, but not consistently enough. And
Mhm.
so since then, I've been doing it with more intention. Not just when I'm sleeping. Sometimes I just let it play in the background, or when I'm meditating, I'll just put on, some soft music with the subliminals and whatnot. And they are amazing. So thank you for reminding me of that as well. And I'm sure a lot of people who are listening it will be very beneficial for them as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so happy to hear that you did those because wow, I remember us
Yeah.
talking about that. Yeah. Sometimes we
Yeah.
forget and then we just have to be reminded, let me try it again. Yeah.
Yes, and I did notice a huge shift, just the little things, the little nuances, and you start showing up differently. You start looking at yourself differently in the mirror. So that's been an amazing tip from you. So once again, thank you so much for being part of my journey.
Thank you so much for having me. Anytime you want to have these conversations, please let me know. I love talking about, anything self-love, self-empowering, anything that makes you feel good. Thank you for having me.
All right, have a good night. I know it's nighttime, it's morning here for me. Good
Have a good
night.
day. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for sharing this sacred pause with me today. If something in this episode stirred your heart or softened your edges, I'd love for you to subscribe, like, and share with someone you love, and leave a kind review. It helps this soul space reach those who need it most. Until next time, may you trust your inner voice, nourish your spirit, and treat yourself to something sweet.